hear you?
Yep, I can hear me. I can hear you.
Yep, check.
You sound handsome.
Come on, little fella. Anyway. All right, Mark, did you know that he did not bring his girlfriend?
Yeah, no, I was actually, Smokey broke the news to me last night, and I was like, it's kind of why I invited him.
Uninvited. Hey.
Yeah, unfollow.
Right. So is she really from the North Pole?
She is, yeah. Family's born and raised there, so every Christmas we've been going, and we literally go to Santa Claus's house, and
I was going to say,
they have reindeer and everything.
is that her dad? Like, what the hell? Like, I've never known of anybody from the North Pole.
So I'm pretty sure they moved there when the rush happened, right? And they had friends making great money, and so him and Wendy, his wife, just picked up, went to go make some money before they had kids, and ended up just liking it there and stayed there.
Damn.
Different world.
That's crazy,
different
right?
world. Yeah.
Well, that's maybe Smokey get a job up there.
Well, he's a South Pole elf.
Oh,
Because
okay.
he's angry.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I could actually see that. That makes sense. All right. Well, we're here today with Christian Guzman, and great to finally have you here. He and I have been in communication for a little bit on getting him here, and I've known Christian for a few years, but haven't had the opportunity to kick it with him. And today we got a chance to throw down. Got a chance to do some bench pressing.
Yes, sir.
We did some slingshotting, and we also utilized a bamboo bar. We did some 2-minute pressing with dumbbells. It was a pretty damn good workout. How did that workout today differ from a lot of the things that you've done in the past?
I would say it was much longer duration, but it was very good. I still felt amped up. I still felt warmed up. And right now, I just feel like I feel very fatigued, but not. It's a different feeling than when you just do a ton of volume and you have an amazing pump and all this stuff versus just literally like really smoking yourself out and lifting extremely heavy. I'm just kind of like shaky in my arms.
Right. Yeah. So it's like someone zapped all your strength.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
exactly. Yeah.
came by with a stick and zapped the strength out of you. How do you normally train? Like, what do you normally do in a lot of your training?
So, really, I like to start my workout with a big compound, and that's where I'll spend majority of my time. But after today, I realized that I'm not spending that much time on it. If I do a push day, for example, I'll do a bench and maybe spend 25 minutes total. So I'm only resting, on my working sets, maybe 2 minutes, two and a half if I'm really, trying to hit some numbers. But and then I'll really speed everything up. I bring my rest time down. I probably do 6 to 8 movements a day, and I try to be in and out within an hour, maybe an hour 15 tops.
Right. And you're pretty busy too. I mean, you got an apparel brand and you got this energy drink thing going on. Tell me a little bit about the energy drink.
So the energy drink started about 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago. Got a little bit of a rocky start. We dealt with this lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. Got it sorted, learned a lot of lessons, and now this year we've really been picking up momentum, and we're just trying to get into we want to be on every street corner in the world.
That's
and
awesome.
We're already in the UK, in a lot of spots in the UK. We're in 7-Eleven in Chicago and Denver, and now we're just trying. GNC's picking us up in March, so we're just really, really focused on blowing that up.
Did the lawsuit kind of scare the crap out of you? You were like, wait, what?
No, it pissed me off, and that's where I learned. That's where I made a mistake. I was like, oh yeah, let's go at it. Let's go at it. And then my stubborn head just, I spent way too much money, and at the end of it, it was just a big learning lesson to sometimes just have to accept and move on, and just, I hate saying take the easier way out, but at some point, it's just not worth it to continue fighting.
I heard a good quote the other day. I really like quotes. I get very attached to them. You saw me writing one on the board up there.
I thought you planned that. So when I walked in, like literally as I'm walking in, I was like, he definitely saw me writing his motivational quote right when I walk in. I'm like, that had to be a coincidence.
So the quote, it goes, be open to anything and be attached to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that quote a lot. And when you're not so attached to stuff, and if you can kind of think about, how do I remove the emotion of this? Somebody comes up to you and they kind of said something rude, and maybe it caught you off guard and you weren't expecting it. How do you kind of like deflate that a little bit, or you're in conversation with somebody and they're talking about business and they propose something to you, And in your head, the first thing that if your first reaction is like, "Oh, that's stupid." No, we're not doing that. We would never do that. And these are all very normal things. Being negative is normal. It's not effective, but it's normal. And so when you start to think about how it's not effective, then you can say, okay, well, it does me absolutely no good, and it doesn't do the other person any good for me to be hurtful or harmful towards what they're saying. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't help the conversation move forward. It doesn't help my business. It doesn't make any sense for me to fire back with fire right now. So that's what I try to think about when I get in conversations with people, especially about business. I'm trying to think, how does it help? How does it hurt? And if somebody comes to me with an idea that I don't really like, a lot of times I will deflect rather than like reject. So somebody might say something, and I'll say, well, you're not wrong. That's actually a great idea, but I think maybe we should try this. Like in addition to what you said, even if I still kind of think I'm not afraid to be a straight shooter, but at the same time, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to like, shoot some things down. And like you said, you kind of learned from that mistake because you got pissed. Yeah.
There's a lot of stupid words thrown around, and calling kind of whatever. Well, anyway, let's not talk about it too much.
Yeah.
We learned.
Well, it just gets ugly, right? And then it gets social media and everything, and it's like, wow, okay, a lot of this could have been just avoided if I was just going on about my day. If I just keep working out, keep training through it. You've been training for a long time, and you've been on YouTube for a long time, and I think a lot of this started for you. Even as a teenager, I think you were sharing information on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, I started YouTube at 19. It was my first year of college, second semester, and at the time I was obsessed with fitness and obsessed, Matt Ogus, Craig Plitt, Chris Jones, all these guys that were doing it, and they were kind of like the first people putting out information that I had never heard of. I would go to bodybuilding.com and look for workouts and stuff like that, but it was somewhere. YouTube was a platform you could type in something on, biceps on the search bar, and I would watch hours and hours and hours of videos and just try to learn a little bit from everybody and try to kind of soak it all in and go test it. I was just testing everything, all the methods, supersets, drop sets, and just macros, and just seeing what I liked and what worked.
And how old are you now?
Now I'm 25, so I started 6 years ago.
And it obviously has worked really well, because you said that you were very thin, right?
Yeah. So I haven't grown in height at all since I started working out, but I was about 115, 120 pounds, and now I'm about 185, almost 190 right now.
That's awesome. I think there's a lot of people that, like we talk constantly on this show about weight loss, because for a long time my audience was fat powerlifters. Everyone was kind of like wondering, hey, how do I shed a couple pounds after a contest, or how do I shed some weight? But in your case, you needed to gain weight, and you used it through, a lot of these methods are kind of controversial. People talking about like flexible dieting. There's people that love it, and there's other people that say, hey man, you can't get in shape eating a Pop-Tart. And like, there's a lot of misconceptions about these things. But you're someone that utilized these techniques, and you put on 80 pounds.
Yeah. And I think, just like there's a lot of people that need to lose weight, there's also a whole demographic of skinny guys that want to put on muscle and that have problems gaining, and that just want to look big, and that are naturally skinnier guys. My ankles, my wrists, my waist, I'm tiny. So to put muscle on the frame was a big challenge for me.
Yeah, story of my life.
Yeah. We were just talking.
Yeah, I was grilling him before we went on air. Like, dude, okay, so what I got to do? And he's like, okay, you got to eat all your protein, and then right before you go to bed, eat some ice cream. I was like, I don't think Mark's going to agree with that.
So for me, it's, just like we talk about counting macros if you're trying to lose weight. If you're a really hard gainer and you don't know how many calories you're having every single day, then you can't build a house if you don't know the measurements, right? So you can't, you have to know what you're intaking in order to hit your goal. And for me, I have about a gram of protein, say 200 grams of protein a day. I try to keep my fat fairly low. For me, that's under 100, 120 grams. And then I shoot my carbs up. And so unless I'm hitting that 4,200 calorie mark, and to hit 4,200 calories of oatmeal, sweet potato, ground beef, and turkey, good luck every day. Like, that is very, very difficult to do. So for me, when I'm having that many calories, maybe 20% of my intake, something like that, will be something like cereal, something that I can just get down without stuffing myself and making me just lethargic and, having to take naps all day.
Well, and that person that you're talking about eating, the oatmeal and going that route, that's called a professional bodybuilder. That is that is a way that you can do it. But I agree with what you're saying. And, I made a post this morning, and it just, I make posts regardless of how popular they are. Obviously, I know that sometimes when I post with certain people or certain things that I do, I do recognize, oh, okay, this will be, people will be excited about this. Me and Brian Shaw, like people always get pumped about that. Or me and Ed Cohn or something like that, But, the post I made this morning, I had a couple bagels on my way here this morning. Now, I don't normally even eat carbohydrates just because the type of diet that I follow. However, I think that there's a misconception here that sometimes people think that I'm against carbohydrates, or sometimes people think I'm against junk food, but I don't. What I'm against is people not getting what they want, people not being able to figure out how to put on muscle, people not being able to figure out how to lose body fat. And a lot of the people that I communicate with that have trouble with body fat, they have trouble with control in their diet. Normally, the things that they struggle with control-wise are kind of highly processed foods. So it's not really just carbohydrates. It's carbohydrates and fat usually. It's things like donuts and cookies, and those things have a tremendous amount of fat calories as well as carbohydrates. So I say, war on carbs, and people think, oh man, he doesn't think you should have carbs. And no, that's not the message, because I do think that, rice and sweet potatoes, and I think all those things have a place. But I actually think that, and I've been kind of in search of trying to find a doctor who can come on here and explain some of this, but I actually think that there's some little bit of magic behind some of these things that most people think are junk food. I think that maybe because of the things that they do to the body, maybe because they are highly processed, maybe they're doing things that are negative, but maybe they're doing like a little bit of positive.
And I would say a lot of that positive is going to be mental. I think just the mental break of, hey, I can have a few Oreos. And I just want to clarify, when I'm dieting and I'm at 2,200 calories a day, no, I'm not going to be fitting in 20% of junk food. I'm going to be eating voluminous foods with micronutrients so I can supply my low energy body to keep going. I'm not going to be fitting in a Pop-Tart if I'm only allowed 2,200. If I have 200 carbs for the day, you'll never catch me doing that. Maybe once, if I'm really craving something sweet and I'm like, okay, I'll allocate 25 carbs, maybe maybe an ice cream sandwich, just to kind of mentally put me at ease and allow me to keep going. But if you are trying to lose weight, you don't want to be fitting in things that really add nothing to the fuel into your body.
They're not adding value.
Exactly.
And I like what you just said there.
Bulking's a little different though, because I'm so full all day.
Yeah.
I can't stuff myself like that all day.
Right. And what you just said too, ice cream sandwich, so that's something that I will occasionally buy for my kids. Mm-hmm. And why will I buy them an ice cream sandwich when meanwhile I'm promoting, that I try to feed them nutritious foods? Well, I cook for them every morning. My wife cooks for them every night. They have pretty good nutrition anyway. But an ice cream sandwich is way different than having a big ass thing of ice cream in the fridge.
Yeah.
Because if I let them if I let them party on that, they're going to take out, scoop after scoop after scoop. Mm-hmm. Ice cream sandwich is like one serving. So those kind of tricks are really good. And then if you're counting your macronutrients and you're counting your calories, that's where you can start to say, okay, maybe there is some room for packaged foods. There's a lot of things in the grocery store that have 100 calories. So now maybe you do have an opportunity to mix in some processed foods here and there.
Yeah, and just a few base rules while we're talking about flexible dieting. I'm an advocate of a minimum of 2 servings of fruit, 2 servings of veggies a day. I think you should be hitting, for males, at least 30 to 40 grams of fiber, females anywhere 15 to 25 grams. And once you hit all those requirements and needs, you're probably, if you're trying to lose weight, you're probably not left with much wiggle room. And so you really just have to try everything out. You have to hit these requirements, sort of see where your intake is at, and you kind of learn as you go,
Yeah, 2 servings of vegetables, 2 servings of fruit. I mean, and when you start to think about some of these things, all that you said was, I want you to add these things. Mm-hmm. And so I love that message of addition by subtraction. Now I gave you so much work to do. I gave you so much stuff to do, because now we got to also try to get in, and there's been a lot of research done on this, and maybe you don't need a gram per pound of body weight, but
a little less.
Yeah, I'm sure it could probably even be like half, but for argument's sake, let's say about roughly a gram per pound. I gave you so much shit to do that you don't have time to mess around with a lot of other junk.
Exactly.
and it makes it just that much more simple. And I think the message too of if it fits your macros and flexible dieting. A lot of people like to use the Pop-Tart and they like to use these different things, and people get the message confused, and they get the message confused when somebody's talking about a ketogenic or low carb diet. Now, if you were to put it into a little bit different perspective, on a low carb diet, somebody might cheat on the weekend, or they might have a cheat meal or a cheat day. Cheat day is probably a little extreme, but they might have a cheat meal. Now, in terms of flexible dieting, all they're doing is they're sprinkling in the cheat kind of throughout the week.
More sustainable.
Yeah, right. And it could be more sustainable for some people. And maybe the other way is more sustainable for others, because maybe some people like to be locked into their diet. And like to have these kind of strict rules, during the week, and maybe they let go a little bit on the weekend, or however it works for you. But I think in the end, I think we're all fighting and all trying to say the same thing. All we're trying to do is have people be able to gain some control, right? Gain some damn control over your diet, because it's really hard.
Yeah, and especially just looking at the population. I mean, it's crazy that I think a lot of people in the fitness scene, in this industry, people that follow you, that follow me, they've heard this a million times. Shut up about the carbs already. I got it. But the thing is, the amount of people in the world that don't know how to lose weight. They think that this keto is the only way to lose weight, or I have to stop eating carbs completely, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, or I have to buy this lean shake, or I need to do a juice cleanse for 3 weeks to be able to lose any weight. It's just, there's so much misinformation out there, and all we want to do is provide you options that work and that you can try out, and that ideally can be sustainable for a long period of time for your life.
And I think a lot of people should track what they're doing when it comes to people that have never really done it before. People that they don't know if they eat way too much. They don't know if they eat way too little. And there's reference points that you can look up on the internet. It will tell you, you multiply your body weight times this amount, depending on how. Well, even that is a process, and even that takes time to figure out. And for yourself, how did you kind of come to these numbers? I'm sure it took you a lot of time to figure out how many calories you needed to gain weight.
Oh yeah, constantly. Really at the beginning, tracking a lot, and weighing myself pretty frequently to see what was happening. If I eat X amount, what's happening on the scale over weekly or 2 weekly, 3 weeks? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying the same? Okay, let me add a little bit more. Let me take away some. And so, like I said, it's really trial and error.
I'm a huge proponent of weighing yourself too. And, I always say too, though, with that, and even with looking at yourself in the mirror and stuff, just never kick a downed opponent, So if you cheated and you ate like crap and you had some drinks and this and that, on the weekend, there's not a lot of great reasons for you to weigh yourself Monday morning. Like, just take a little break from that. Say, I don't really need that. I'm not going to sit in front of the mirror and, be pissed at myself. Just realize that it's time for you to get back on the plan. It's time for you to get back into it.
Yeah, 100%.
What are some things that you do to try to keep you on track? Or are there some, different things you try to lock into, or do you try to even, maybe at certain times of the year, maybe you don't even pay attention to your diet?
To be honest, right now, when I'm starting my diet here in really just 2 months, so 6 weeks even. So I got 6 more weeks to live my life the way I want to live it. So to be honest, I'm being sure I hit my protein intake a day. I'm being sure I'm eating enough to continue gaining weight. And once I'm here, like around 190, to be honest, to gain I've never been over that in my life, and that's eating anything and everything in front of me. So I'm really just trying to push myself to continue eating and just be sure I can keep gaining the last few months before I start the
But
diet.
This isn't like an onslaught against
no.
dirty food, right?
No.
Right.
And once everything starts, everything changes. And, of course, even when I'm bulking up, I'm still eating my core food groups, my fruits, my veggies and everything. It's just I have to really get the calories up. So once everything starts, it's almost just that's when everything starts cleaning up a lot more. My 20% of whatever I'm eating goes down. My volume comes back in. I start, incorporating my cardio, and I start dropping weight slowly and losing, anywhere from half a pound to 1.5 pounds even towards the beginning of the diet a week. And it's just a process that you have to learn.
One thing that's helped me over the years is just sometimes going through periods of time where I'm just a little bit more active versus being less active. certain times a year, I might walk a little bit more. I might train a little bit
I
more.
want to say something about Mark. He stands up all day. We've been standing all day. I sit all day, so my feet are hurting right now. We've done a few interviews and stuff, and we're standing, but it's really good. I feel like you're very active, and you're up early, and we were just talking when you were over there. He goes, yeah, it's pretty hard. At first, he was filming for you, and it's pretty hard to keep up with him. He's fast for 18 hours a day. I'm like, I'm about to starve over here, man. So. I can definitely see the activity levels really high.
Yeah, and I, when I first started having some of these guys follow me around with a camera and or filming like Hustlemania and stuff. I mean, but part of the reason we don't film Hustlemania anymore is because these guys get killed by it, and that's basically just them kind of following me around for the day. But my wife is the one who pointed out to me, like, I always want to keep going. I always want to keep doing stuff. Even like having you here, we had to put a little thought behind it because we were like, well, we're coming off the LA Fit Expo, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, this is Christian Guzman. Like, we got to make time for him. He's awesome. And so we made it happen. But my wife is like, hey, you got to remember you got your staff too. You might feel fine, but she's like, I don't think they always do. So you got to pay attention to how they're doing too.
Thanks, Andy. But yeah, I was talking to him about, when I would film Hustlemania, and this was back when you were doing pretty strict keto. Mm-hmm. So you would fast for like 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And how hard is it to follow somebody around with a camera? It's like, dude, well, shit. When he doesn't stop for food, it's tough. And he'll go through tons of coffee. So it's like, hey, you want something? Like, sure, yeah, I'll have some coffee. Next couple hours, you want some more coffee? Like, sure, I'll take it. And then you start getting the coffee shakes, right? And you're just like, dude, when are we gonna eat? And he's like, oh, I'm good. I'm fasting right now. I was like, I'm gonna wither away, man. Like, I need some over. Yeah. So it's a lot of hard work trying to keep up with Mark.
Hey, you know what I did? I taught these guys how to meal prep. That's what it did.
Yeah.
Because we would travel around. We'd go to like San Jose or San Francisco, and I would say, hey, we're gonna be gone for 12 hours. You guys need to pack your stuff. Not because I don't want to stop. I want to like keep going, and try to get, and I don't want to get stuck in traffic.
Yeah, most bang for your buck, right?
That's right. Yeah. Got to keep shuffling those feet. So you also have an apparel brand, and you've done a tremendous job building that up. And a lot of that has come from your success through YouTube and Instagram. Where did some of the YouTube stuff start? I know that you said you were, fascinated by fitness. Like, where did that kind of twinkle in your eye start for fitness? How did your own lifting journey even get started?
So growing up, like I said, I was really skinny, really, really tiny. And for me, you probably would never guess because I'm a YouTuber, right? And I'm in front of the camera, but I was really quiet. I mean, I didn't talk to anybody. If someone talked to me, I would pray I wouldn't get called on in class. I just wasn't social, very to myself. I just wanted to go home and play a computer game and maybe play some guitar. And I just hated speaking, And so for me, once I got into fitness, and I got into it because a buddy of mine that I had known when I played guitar with, he had started like a training camp. He went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was a strength and agility camp. And he had already been doing it for a year and a half or two. And, he had a really good six pack, and his arms were probably, now that I think about it, probably like 12 and a half, 13 inches. But to me, like, he was buff,
He was massive.
And I was like, man, like, I want to look like that. And, he had, girls that like, text him and stuff. And I was like, man, I want that. So I signed up for that class, and I got hooked. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3:00, never missed a session. I was obsessed with it. And I think just seeing my body change, I went from 115 to, I would probably say 130, 145 just by eating more and working out 3 times a week. And I was gaining confidence. I was talking a little bit more. And for me, that was the turning point in my life, really, to be honest.
It really, it's really a fascinating thing that you have the ability to change your body like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that
first year or two is like, that's when, such a huge change happens.
Well, I think that sometimes some of these things get a little bit lost in the shuffle. Like, obviously we can exercise and we can diet, we can lose weight. But man, can we make some other amazing changes? You just said you started talking more. You just started to have more confidence.
Yeah, and I was able to talk to women for the first time because I got that gym. The gym gave me confidence. My body was building up, and I felt like I was Mr. Macho over here. And I thought I was huge in my tank tops back then. And those
like,
kind
of course these chicks are gonna dig this.
Yeah,
these pecs and this tank
top.
They
can't ignore these biceps, man.
That's right.
And so it kind of goes back to just motivation. And I think that a lot of times, I always refer to a teenage boy having a Lamborghini on his wall, or like a poster. What you learn eventually as you get older is that those things aren't actually motivation. But if those things will get you started, if thinking the girls are going to be attracted to get you started to lifting, if thinking, a Lamborghini, if I buy that Lamborghini, I'm going to be so successful. If that drives you to put in work and get going, who cares? I don't care what gets you started. Because eventually, if you catch on properly, you're going to learn the discipline and just really enjoying what you do. And that process is what's enjoyable. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you end up with those things. When you have these things that are around that are kind of subliminal, that you're always, for whatever reason, like your mind always kind of gravitates towards them. You have some nice cars. Do you have a Lamborghini?
I don't right now, no. I've sold everything. I kind of went through a little phase, I was 21, 22, 23, where I needed all of it. I wanted to test it out, and I had a lot of fun. Don't regret it at all. But I think now I'm just really focused on the enjoyment of the businesses. I want to be in the office. I want to be with my employees and build a team up and put my efforts there.
What do you think gets you the most fired up and excited about building a business like that?
I think it's just, man, for me, I really just enjoy progress. And I think it's not the numbers numbers are literally just numbers on an account on a screen. It's like, I really just enjoy seeing the growth. I love when I'm in the gym at some random gym out of town and I see my Alphalete everywhere. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy, man. And when we're at expos and stuff, obviously that's a big population. But even today, one of your employees said, hey, my sister had some pants. She had never heard of you. And like, she loves those leggings. I'm like, hell yeah, that means we're making it. That's where all the hours we're spending making products and marketing. We're doing all this stuff and getting new athletes. Like, it's working. And to me, I just want to see everything grow. I want to see 3D in my local grocery store. I want it to happen so bad, so it's just exciting. It fires me up.
Just keep walking by it,
back
and forth. You're like, shit, there it is, still sitting there.
I'm pretty sure my dad actually went to it's called HEB. It's a convenience store. He goes, hey, do you guys have any 3D? Just, can I speak to your manager? You really need that drink. It's awesome. Just trying to put in a good word. But yeah.
Are your parents super supportive?
Yeah, they are. I don't know if we touched on it, but I actually dropped out of college at 19. So back then, things were a little bit different. The support wasn't always like, oh yeah, let's support whatever you're doing. Just drop everything and drop your career and go make videos flexing. Like,
well, and this whole entrepreneur thing and this whole YouTube thing is fairly new too. Yeah. So your parents would be like, what are you going to do?
Exactly. And so my dad had always been, I was already really pursuing, different streams of revenue when I was ready to kind of drop out and keep going full time. But even then, my mom was really, really not wanting it to happen. None of my friends were.
She's like, this is not a good idea.
Yeah, they're, please don't do it. Like, crying on the phone. My friends were like, yeah, it's kind of, you can stay in school and keep doing it part-time like you are. But I feel like at the time, 2012, 2013, there was just that window where I was ready to go full-time.
Why do you think your parents were so into you, going to college and getting a degree?
I think just not many people in my family have ever graduated, and to get the degree and get a stable job, quote, because I quote that stable job because I really don't think there's anything stable in this world like that. But that was the path, and it's okay, it's fine. But I was in school for health and fitness management, which would eventually allow me to be a PE teacher. But I wanted to build a gym. I told you I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday to this training camp. This guy, Mike Pindle, he ran the company, and he would have 25 kids in there at one time. We had our strength section, the accessories, and then the agility stuff. It was just a rotation. So fun being in that class, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to have a gym. I wanted to be a trainer, and train kids in groups and stuff. And I feel like I was already doing what I wanted to get my major in. I was like, you can't teach me this in a textbook. I'm just gonna go. I already have clients. Let's go do it.
Right.
So. No,
that makes that. That makes a lot of sense. Where you're finding your way, in fitness, kind of on your own. I do think a lot of parents are really tied to this idea of college, and it kind of baffles my mind nowadays that people are still so attached to that. Like, yeah, you're going to do this, and then you're going to go to college, and it's like that progression is fine, and it has worked for many people, but it doesn't really make sense to just assume that it's going to be a natural progression. My son, he talks about college and he'll ask questions about it, and I'll just tell him flat out, I'm like, you don't need to go to college. You don't have to go to college. I mean, you can. If you want to go to college, I'm in. That's great. I'll support that. But if you don't want to go, that's totally fine too. Each person's got their own path.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like you're pretty rare though in that parenting fact. I feel like that's not a normal case, and I get asked all the time by people, "Hey, my parents don't support this. Like they're making me do this." And my answer to that is always, you're going to have to balance both. And if you're in school chasing your whatever degree, right? And if that's going to make your parents happy, and they're the ones supplying that, unless you can supply yourself and you can whatever you want to do, unless you're actually already doing it and working on it while you're balancing school. For me, I was in school for a year, really 2 years until I could have full confidence. I was like, hey, like I got this. Like, let me just, like, I was already making enough money to run with it. And I was still in school, had a great GPA. I was balancing both. I was sleeping less. I might've been not paying attention in class. I was doing emails in the back, but I made it happen. So I feel like that time has to happen. You have to prove yourself before you can just drop everything. And I'm going to drop everything and I want to start this. No. You can drop something once you've already started. It's already succeeding, and it's already shown you that it has potential.
That's a great message. I share that with people often too. Is you can be going after something while you're doing something else too.
I think that's the only way to start.
Yeah,
because if you just drop everything and start, no, in what world does that make sense?
I think some people will listen to some messages that you and I have, and they might think, "Oh, I need to quit my job, or I need to quit school." Nope. And it's like, well, no, don't do that. Keep your job, but maybe you start working on the weekend for yourself.
Yep.
Maybe start working on a business plan or an idea or
wake
concept.
Up 2 hours earlier, spend an hour and a half in the morning, get ready for work, and spend 2 hours at night. You may have to sacrifice a little bit more of your free time. Maybe you don't watch your Netflix shows at night, but if you're working towards that, I mean, nowadays you can do really anything online. There's so much potential. So just make time for it, or else you're going to be stuck at that job forever.
When you were going through this transition, how were you making money?
My first thing was online coaching. And I was literally answering free, I put my email out for everybody. And so people would email with questions and I would answer everybody, and I was doing hours of just free email advice per day. And my dad, he was like, "Why don't you charge for that, son?" And I was like, okay. So I ordered, the Stripe thing you plug in your phone and you can get credit cards. And so I ordered one of those things. And, if someone wanted a custom thing, a workout plan, or they wanted some macro helper, at the time I was doing meal plans, and I would actually give them my contact. They'd call me, run their credit card, be sure it's all good. I'd get all their stats, all their data. I would send a questionnaire. They'd be on the phone with me. They'd tell me about themselves, and I'd make them a plan. I'd send it, $50, $50, $50. And then I started doing 90-day transformations. Those were a few hundred, $219, I think it was, for 90 days. I had my phone number, 24/7 response time. And I really just pushed that coaching business a lot.
Do you have some OG customers from way back then that are?
I remember those names, and I remember the names for the first few years, and it was great. I mean, I was making a lot of money. It was literally no overhead other than my time, and it's an ideal way to start.
Right. People that are listening right now are probably like, "Man, I want them to help me now," but you probably don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah, so now everything's essentially downloadables. I have a few one-on-one clients, but you can't just go and buy it. Now there's a whole application process. I only take on people that have counted macros. They understand what they've been following, that just need tweaking every week. Yeah. And I'm not going to, I can't answer, sit on my computer and do that all day.
But you do share a lot of free information.
I give everything for free. I really strongly believe that if you output everything you can to help people, I think it comes back.
I mean, people can go on your YouTube channel and they can follow. I mean, you have vlog after vlog of your food.
And I also, I have dedicated videos to exactly how to set your macros, exactly when to make changes. There's everything. You just have to look.
Right.
And just looking seems like people make it sound like it's so hard, but just Google something,
Yeah.
You Google things if you have a question, or type it in on YouTube.
YouTube is an amazing resource. When it comes to finding your macros, where does somebody start?
So really I break it down, and the first question is, what's your goal? What kind of body fat range are you? Are you fairly lean? Are you maybe over 20%? Are you over 30%? Obviously, people that have more body fat need less, but they don't need a gram per pound of body weight. They may be having 0.6, not to get too technical, less protein. And then I typically have people multiply there's a formula and all this stuff to get your fat. It's all literally just type in Christian Guzman, how to count your macros. And I break everything down super simple, and it gives you a starting point. And starting points don't always work out. So sometimes, and I say in that video, if you weigh yourself, 3 times a week, you're not losing weight over 1-2 weeks, you're going to make this change. You're going to subtract a little bit of those carbs, subtract a little bit of fat the next week if you have to, then go back to the carbs. Keep your protein the same. And it's very like step by step. You just have to be willing to try it out.
When somebody's, selecting their macros and the body fat percentage thing makes a lot of sense. And even if it's still like just some guesswork, it's totally fine. But you can almost assume that if somebody is heavier, they probably are moving a little bit less.
Yep.
That's probably kind of how they got in that position in the first place. And so that makes sense that they would potentially need less, caloric intake. The hard part is to figure out ways of controlling hunger and cravings. You have any tips for people on how to kind of
water? A lot of if I were to break stupid simple, water, volume is food, veggies, aka, and number 3 would be, let's see, volume, water, and I'd really just say, if you're having cravings, have some fruit. For me, some watermelon or some strawberries. Strawberries are super low calorie for the volume that you get. Oh man, like a box of strawberries will make me just not want any more sugar, and it's little changes like that. Instead of going to a bag of sour candy with, 150 grams of carbs for a bag of Skittles, you're having 50 grams or 40 grams of carbs from a big box of strawberries.
Something that I've learned kind of recently, and a lot of this happened through my bodybuilding show, but it's kind of this idea of, like, if you don't have good practices and you don't stay on top of good practices, bad ones will seep in. Mm-hmm. And so if you can kind of think about, let's say you're 300 pounds and you're like, man, I've tried everything. I just can't figure out how to make things work. Some of these small changes that you're recommending are huge. These are a really good first step.
Don't drink your calories.
My
dad lost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think because we're in the fitness
that happens
world,
with a lot of men. Especially.
He was having about 12 to 14 root beers a day. Normal, and how many? What's that? 500 grams of carbs, yeah. And at dinner it'd be 3, 4. During it'd be all day. And just by cutting that out, and I think he limited it to like maybe 2 a day, and then now he just drinks water. No calories from liquid. Switch your carbs. Just be sure you're having something with whole wheat, with fiber, with micronutrients that's slow digesting. Just that's going to fill you up more. It's going to provide more for your body. Just increasing your protein. Honestly, protein is very satiating. It makes you not as hungry as opposed to straight carbs.
Right.
So increase protein. Bring down your fat. Bring down your carbs a bit. Be sure you're having whole grain. Be sure you're drinking more water. You should. I drink over a gallon of water a day, and it just keeps you feeling good.
Pay attention. Pay attention to triggers. What's something that where you reached in the fridge, you had something that was kind of borderline on your diet, and then the next thing you know, you're,
I have one more good
knee
one
deep,
that we were talking
in
about
ice
earlier.
cream.
The last one I would say is don't eat just because you think you should be eating. So if you wake up, I'm not hungry, man. And even if you are, maybe just have a protein shake, then keep going. I think fasting is a whole other topic, which is really, really great. But don't just eat a big breakfast because you think it's the most important meal of the day. If you can push, maybe have a lunch or have a big dinner. Find out what your body needs. Some people may want a big breakfast, and then maybe they don't get hungry till dinner. Or maybe they like to snack all day and have a big dinner. It's okay to have different eating. Meal frequency to me is a lot lower on the priority list as opposed to overall caloric intake and the quality of your calories.
I think it's really important for people to schedule their food. So like he's saying, don't just eat because you're like, I have to eat. Now, it is good to get on a plan. It's good to get a routine going. And so I always say that I do believe that most people have a general idea of where they are each day. I know there's the person out there who's like, I don't know, I got a crazy schedule. I understand, but even with your crazy schedule, you still know when you bring your kids to school. You still know, when you get home from work normally, right? Some of these things. So write out a schedule of when approximately you're going to eat. And just like you said, if you're not hungry, maybe you don't have to eat. Now, if you're trying to gain some size,
then it's opposite.
Then your normal impulse, you might have to change. But just there's simple things that you can do to kind of replace the bad habits with good ones. There's yogurt, there's cottage cheese, there's a lot of options, and you can pick out foods that you like. It doesn't have to be something I say or recommend. But when you're counting calories and when you're trying to figure out ways of reducing the amount of food that you're eating and the amount of overall calories that you're having, you're going to have to really pay attention to the things that you're eating, pay attention to the things that set you off. Did you have that slice of cake, at someone's birthday and it threw you into a tailspin? Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing, we can all agree. We can say, yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a piece of cake. Have 2 or 3, it's fine.
Unless it triggers you. And to me, it's a little bit hard for me to relate right now, but just like the trigger, I mean, post-show, oh, that's exactly, once you do you'd really deplete yourself for a long time. Yeah, if you have something, you just need to have more of it, And right now, I'm obviously like in total opposites, on the opposite side of the spectrum. So, yeah, exactly. It's just you just have to really learn triggers, and you have to learn how can I do better to prevent them. No one's going to eliminate them completely. No one's perfect, and if you do mess up, just get right back on track.
And just take your time getting used to the food. Like you might do a diet for a few weeks and you might not actually really lose weight, but you may have made better decisions. You may have started to eat better food, and maybe you're overeating on a couple foods that they don't really truly fit in. I know, I've been on diets before where I'm like, I'll have like popcorn because popcorn doesn't have a lot of, doesn't have a lot of calories in it. But, you can still make a mistake with some of these foods that you think are safe, and you can still overdo it and they can still trigger you, to go in the wrong direction. But just take your time, like just get used to the food. Be excited that you made better choices for a while, and the weight loss will come.
Yeah. I do think, kind of like you were saying, if, for example, a keto diet, and if you give someone a basic rule, don't have carbs, you can have as much peanut butter and nuts, and you can just have a lot of oils. And guess what? If you're eating like literally boxes of nuts a day because you think they're okay, and just a ton of fat and butters and things like that, yeah, maybe you're not having carbs. If you're having thousands of calories per day in fat. And so it's really just, you have to eventually find the way. And you realize that just because something is good, a good food versus a bad food, you still can't have unlimited amounts of it.
Right. No, I mean, you can overdo it. And there's been times where I've been on a keto style diet where I've like gained weight, because I've just, like you said, I'm just eating too much. It's, also too, I think it's a good idea to kind of think about like, what are some things that are kind of natural? What are some things that naturally occur? Why is it a bad idea to drink a lot of calories? And one reason is that when you take something like a fruit, take like an orange or a pineapple or some of these things. Let's take an apple, for example. An apple has it has kind of cofactors that help you deal with the sugar that's in it. Mm-hmm. It's like perfectly designed for you to consume. It has fiber in it. It's got vitamins, it has minerals in it, it has nutrients in it, and it has things that will allow it to digest in a certain way. It'll take longer to digest an apple as opposed to what apple juice could do to you. And apple juice could be 5 apples, 10 apples, blended up, and it loses some of the fiber components to it. And it's primarily, all sugar. Now, when it comes to sugar, what do you think of the problems with sugar?
So if you're an active, for me, again, I'm on this opposite side of the spectrum. If I'm a very active individual, I'm sweating a ton. I mean, I am working out 6 days a week. I'm super active. So for me, I'm not one to really count a ton of my sugar, but it's also because I'm conscious of my foods. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not, having just Pop-Tarts for breakfast every morning and then just, having 500 grams of sugar a day. But at the same time, I'm not too worried about it. Almost like with sodium, I'm not too worried about my sugar, my sodium, because I know what I'm intaking. And I think for a lot of people that are not active, sugar is the thing is, you have fruit and you have veggies and things, but then you have your processed stuff. And so I think really just cleaning everything up and get active is number one. You just get active, and that's like, that should be step one, I think.
That's a good start. And the sugar, that the part of the thing with the sugar, in my opinion, is just it can lead to cravings, and it can lead to just a lot of excess calories. And I think that's what gets lost sometimes, is like, look, we're still talking about the same thing. We're still talking about you're over consuming. I'm not a huge proponent of meticulously counting calories, and I got my kind of reasons for it. But the main thing is, if it works for you and it's effective for you, then forget what I just said and don't worry about it. Continue to write things down. One of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of counting calories is I think that to the general public, to the general population, it's just hard to get them. It's hard to get them to follow things that aren't black and white. So if you have time to explain macros to them, and you got time to follow through with a message like you have on your YouTube channel, then that's great, and a lot of people can absorb that.
The thing about that, once you count macros for say 3-4 weeks, you get the hang of it. I don't have to count macros. Right. The only time I'll count is maybe on the last few weeks of a competition prep where I really have to fine tune. But I can get shredded as hell without counting anything. But it's because I've done it before and I understand.
Yeah.
I can look at a plate of food. That's what I agree with. You look at a plate of food, you know, all right, that's about 30, 40 grams of protein, maybe 50 carbs, and about 20 grams. But you have to. I'm a believer where you have to actually do it and track it to be able to understand. So if you just dedicate 3 weeks, 4 weeks to tracking for 5 days a week, right? And once you get the hang of it, then you can understand so much better, and you don't have to do it forever. I don't track my macros every day. I don't track my macros every day if I'm dieting. I track it in the final stages where it's, and that's not the general the public. I mean, when you're that lean and tweaking just to get that last little bit of oblique, I mean, that's a very small percent of people. So I just think it's important to understand. We just have to dumb it down, to be honest. The base, stupid, simple, and find a way to get that message across, which I was just saying today. I don't think anyone has really hit the general population with a way that's simple. All you hear juice cleanse, you hear keto, and you hear all these magical things on the radio stations, and freezing your fat and all this stuff, and it's just someone just needs to get the message out in a way for people to understand, the general public to understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of this idea of like, if you do what you've always done, you'll be what you've always been, right? And so when you think about it in those terms, like, that's pretty simple to consume. That's pretty easy to understand. Like, I was eating this, and I didn't look the way that I wanted. So now maybe I should like pay more attention. Maybe I should write things down. Maybe I should look up some YouTube videos. Maybe I should read a book, or however you want to consume the information, but educate yourself on it, learn about it. And that's why you end up hearing a lot of people saying, a lot of diets are effective. A lot of them do work. What's sustainable? What's something that you can do? For myself, I've always loved a low carb diet. A lot of people don't love it. And then
I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, so then why would you even bother? Yeah. Why put yourself through all the stress of like, that's not what you enjoy. That's not what you like. And maybe it just doesn't even go along with like general lifestyle, or like, who knows, different reasons why. But I like fasting. And keto and fasting, to me, they feel like they go together pretty naturally. They feel like they go together pretty good. And so that's what I do, and I feel good. And I think the problem is sometimes I feel so good, maybe when I share the message, people just think that I'm all in on that, and I don't respect other forms of dieting. But I've been trying to say all along, a lot of these other methods are really effective.
Yeah, I just hope people that know that you can do keto, and you can get shredded as hell. You can get fit. You can have... Like, I don't ever drop my carbs under 260, 270, and I get shredded. I get to a single digit body fat. You don't have to cut anything specifically out. You just have to find out how to make that work and how to make that fit, and what approach is going to work for you. I've never talked this much about fitness stuff. I'm usually just all busy. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, I like asking you about this kind of stuff because this is where everything came from.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the same. My story is the same. Everything came from lifting. You know a ton about nutrition. You know a ton about training.
Meanwhile, I'm going to take a sip of this full sugar Gatorade. I'm killing Mark's soul right here.
Yeah. Dude, you're going to die. What you got over there, Andrew? Look like you're brewing some questions up over there.
Yeah, no, I was just reading like some comments on like your channel and then, of course, our channel. But just one very simple, basic one is, I'll just roll it into this. Have you ever messed with the keto diet when it comes to trying to actually build like body mass?
No. The simple answer is no, I haven't. And no real reason other than I really like carbs. I love, like, pasta is my favorite food. If I would have one food forever, it'd be pasta. I love rice.
I like the texture of pasta.
Yeah,
I really do like the texture.
I can eat a box in a sitting.
Yeah.
1,600 calories and 7 servings.
Right.
No problem. I just love carbs, and so
yeah,
I'm addicted.
Here's kind of the missing component of that sometimes is that And I know for like right now, you're not like real crazy specific with your diet. But when he's having the carbohydrates, he's not pouring a ton of like butter on it and a ton of cheese and a ton of other stuff, correct?
I mean, right now,
yeah, right.
Now,
but I'm saying like under normal circumstances.
If I'm actually dieting, it's crazy, but I actually don't like to have pasta because I eat too much of it. So that's when I change. I really do change my carb sources. Instead, I'm having oatmeal, I'm having potatoes, things that fill me up a lot more. But when I'm gaining, I kind of switch to the white rice. I switch to pasta to where I can just eat a ton of it and put the weight on.
That's so huge that you just said that, because that's what most people are facing is they
just have to switch.
Yeah.
Try to eat a cup and a half of oatmeal. Yeah. See how you feel. And that's only 450 calories versus, 3 servings of pasta with butter and oil. Like, you're over 1,000. And that's not going to fill you up like a cup and a half of oatmeal would. That's hard to eat a cup and a half of oatmeal.
Do you think the gluten thing is kind of overblown or
yep, I do.
Yeah. I believe that as well. Now, if you're sensitive to these things and you've had problems, and then again, go off the basis of your experiences and don't listen to us on this. But I think there's a lot of people that like, I don't notice any repercussions of having any sort of gluten.
I think that a lot of people want to find something to blame in the sort of sense where, I'm not losing. It must be that gluten. It has to be.
It's inflammation.
Exactly. I think a lot of people just need to really just, if you dedicate an hour a day for a month to learn fitness, to learn nutrition, and just base knowledge. You don't even need that much time, but that'll change your life forever. And I'm not a huge gluten kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I brought it up, because it just seems like everybody, like, they'll stumble upon the like a ketogenic diet when they really are just doing like a keto-ish diet, but they're kind of looking for a cheat code, right? Because they don't want to lose mass, but they want to drop fat. But they don't really know how to do it. So they're like, oh, the ketogenic diet, I think Mark does it. So he's a big guy. I think it's possible, right? So like there is no real way to gain size and drop weight, right? Like,
unless you're a beginner, in my opinion. If you're at first year training, maybe like a little bit in the second year training, and you've never hit a higher amount of protein, I do think it's possible. A lot of the noob gains, right? It is possible to strip body fat and actually gain muscle, and your whole physique changes. But again, if Mark or I were to try that right now, that's not going to happen. That's really just for beginners.
Yeah, it's for beginners. And then, when you embrace some of the rules of bodybuilding, and you embrace a bodybuilding style diet, which kind of ends up, if it fits your macros and flexible dieting, sometimes for people that use that for bodybuilding, they end up doing kind of more of a standard bodybuilding diet, which is a low-fat, higher carbohydrate diet. Now, in my opinion, that is the best way to get as tight and as lean as possible, and
keep performance as well, I think.
Yeah, well, the performance side of it is huge. The way that you perform in the gym is huge, and that part of it is undersold. And if you're on a ketogenic diet, your performance in the gym, most of the time for most people is gonna drop. I've noticed something a little bit different with what I'm doing now, because I'm not really keto. I haven't even checked to see if I'm, producing X amount of ketones or whatever. But what I do now is, I'm eating more meat, and I occasionally will throw in some carbs here and there, and I feel awesome, and that my performance is good. However, if there was more carbs in the picture, I would probably perform better. If I wanted to keep my body fat low, I would bring the carbs up higher, and I would actually bring the fat down lower. It's just, I don't choose to eat that way all the time.
And even with my clients, I was training a bunch. The way I like to train, carbs is going to help performance directly. And for me, I want to keep my carbs as high as possible while I'm dieting down. I want to keep my strength as high as possible. And essentially, you need to train heavy when you're trying to lose weight to give your muscle a reason to stay. Cause it to stay, push your body to stay as strong as it can while losing body fat. And if you don't do that, if you just switch to, I'm going to do 30 reps in exercise, I'm just going to cut my carbs, guess what? I actually have tried very low carb, like my first few years, flat as hell. You're not going to be able to get a pump. You're going to feel just weak. And I just remember feeling so weak and flat. And carbs, sodium, it all has an effect on your pump, on your performance, on how you feel. And so I really highly, at least from my experience, recommend keeping your carbs as high as you can while losing weight. And you'll be shocked. You might think 200 carbs on that's so much, but I can 92% of my clients will lose weight between 180 to 200.
Everyone's so scared that they're carb tolerant. They're like,
you may have to do a few sessions of cardio a week, but yeah, people are not as sensitive to things as you assume. It's just you never actually track to understand how much you're actually intaking.
Well, they taken in the carbs with the fat.
Yeah,
and they're not paying. I mean, how quickly can you get your fat calories in?
Oh, so easy.
A steak that's got butter on it, you're done.
3 eggs for breakfast with some butter, and then maybe have a oatmeal with peanut butter. Boom, you're at 35, 40 grams right there. It's so quick, and it's so fast. So you just have to, and it goes back to, like I said, you have to learn what is in certain foods. That's why I really think you need to track, or you need to at least watch some videos. And on every meal, like when I'm dieting, I'll literally show my meal. This is the macros on the screen, and it kind of puts it in people's head. Okay, that's higher protein. It's egg whites. It's pretty low fat. Oh, there's only a little bit of peanut butter on there. So.
And even if you have like let's say for breakfast you had a couple eggs, a couple egg whites in there too to kind of balance it out. And then at lunch you have like a salad, chicken salad, but it's got ranch dressing or now you just consumed like 45 grams of fat and you had no idea.
Yep.
You just didn't even. It's just something that you wouldn't think of. You're like, I'm having a salad. Salads are great, and they can be great, but not like that.
Fat-free Italian dressing is my favorite.
There you go. You got to make a decision on which you got to make a decision on what lane you're going to go in is basically what we're trying to say. If you're going to go kind of on that lower carb venture, then you got to pay attention to the carbs, and if you're going to go in the direction of having higher amounts of carbohydrates, then you're going to have to cut back on the fat.
Yeah, I think my only I feel like I've been sounding like I have a problem with low carb, and I don't have a problem with keto. I think the only problem I have is that for the average person, if they're at a birthday party and if they're on keto and they see a stack of cookies there, or if they see a bag of chips and they just want to have a little, if they want to have a little bit because they haven't had carbs in so long, they just crave, they can't control. I think by mentally saying, okay, you're cutting your carbs, it makes you want some carbs, right? But then again, it makes you feel so bad when you do, and it makes you feel like you messed up, and you spiral downwards. And so I think the reason I'm such a carb advocate is because I think that it's sustainable, and I think that if you learn how to diet with carbs, you can throw in a cookie at a birthday party, especially if you're maybe not doing a show or anything like that. You can learn how to fit things in and not have to give up your social life. If you want to have a glass of wine or two, you learn about there's 7 calories and a gram of alcohol. You can figure out, okay, 1 shot of tequila is roughly going to be 100 grams of calories. That's how I'll track. And you have to learn it first, and then it's just easy to kind of understand and have a better picture.
I went to eat with Jay Cutler, and he ate fairly clean. He got like salmon. He ordered, I think, salmon and rice, and he just said, no butter, no oil. And they were like, oh, what? And he just said, oh yeah, I eat a particular way, and he explained it to them. And they were like, okay, sir, sounds great. And but then the bread came out, and then he ordered a soda. He ordered a Coke. And he had a piece of bread. I mean, he's retired. First of all, he's retired. But I think that's a good example of he made a decision on one end and said, I don't want the extra calories this way. I don't need
have a little bit of this.
I don't need these extra calories over here, but I want these extra calories over here. And so he made a decision. That is all that we're trying to preach right now.
Exactly. I see. I would just lose so much weight if I did that. It's really for skinny guys. I think for really skinny guys with fast metabolisms that you have to. If you're not gaining weight eating normal, what's going to make you think you can gain weight eating super, super clean and saying no to, olive oil and stuff? Right. A lot of times you need that. You're going to need that amount of food to gain.
Right. Well, and there's so many people that are kind of stuck in this way of they want to be bigger, but they don't want to gain fat.
You are going to have to. You're going to have to gain a little bit of fat. Now, of course, you can control. You have these dirty bulks where people just eat everything in sight, but then if you actually do a lean bulk, you're still not going to look like you did on a show day, but you're going to feel good. You're going to maybe have a few hundred calories over your maintenance level, to find your maintenance level, you kind of have to experiment. You have to figure it out, whatever that level is, and maybe bump it up 250 calories.
Face might get a little chubbier and some stuff like that, but you'll just have to deal with it for a little bit,
exactly.
Right?
You're never going to be as shredded. You'll never be as lean as you are as if you were, depleting yourself for 12 weeks. You're not going to look like that if you're in a lean bulk. But yeah, you can keep your abs, you can keep, definition and everything and look great.
How'd you feel about today's bench press? You hit a 360-pound bench today, and it was pretty damn clean, I might add.
Yeah, thank you. I felt really good, felt strong. A lot of adrenaline. Great. I think it was the ammonia. That's what it was.
Yeah, he did it.
My first time.
Snorted.
Yeah, he did pretty good. He handled it.
It only went up one nostril, so
yeah, straight to the dome.
Yeah.
That stuff really wakes you up. It's like, holy shit, man. But it's just part of the culture. It's part of like kind of what we do here at Super Training. We like to crank up the music. We like to get that intensity, and
it helps so much.
Yeah, when you're training, do you have headphones on? You listen to music? Like, how do you get motivated?
It really depends on. Like right now, I have Alberto Nunez doing my own workout program, and it's a lot more. I have one set where I'm going RP9, but a lot of the times I'm doing so much volume and so many sets, and more accessory movements to bring up my weak points. And I think that at times when I'm going for a PR, the environment's so important. But normally when I'm working out at home right now, because my goal is strictly to gain as much as I can on my weak points, my lats, my delts, my legs. A lot of it is I have to get in the zone and just be able to not just give it 100% on one set and then kind of burn myself out. I have to space out my energy for the whole hour I'm in the gym and to try to get the most out of every set I can.
Why do you have a coach?
So I just
you know a lot. I mean, we've been talking for a long time already about nutrition.
I still do my macros on my own. I did have some help from Jeff Nippard and Alberto last year on my peak week, about 2 weeks out from my show. But my training program, I own a gym and I go into there, I get distracted, and it's hard to be really focused and say hi to everyone who's visiting from out of town and follow. I get in my habit. I'll do the workouts I know. I do the reps. I do the weights I know, and it's easy for me to get lost. And so I wanted to go ahead and give Alberto the reins. He's probably the smartest guy I know. And I said, hey, I want you to look at my physique. Tell me what you think my weak points are. He asked me what I thought they were. I didn't even want to tell him. I said, what do you think? I sent him a video. So he told me lats, lateral delts. He didn't even say legs, which I was shocked. I was like, okay. So I asked him, I want you to give me a program. I'm hitting lats 4 times a week right now. I'm doing a ton of shoulder work, more than I've ever done. But yeah, it's so different, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think that it would benefit me over the next few months.
No, it's great. It's great to kind of put it in somebody else's hands. And a lot of times when I'm, training for a contest or doing something, I'll just text somebody and say, hey, pick something for me today, let me know. And I've had other people, I've had guys like Matt Winning and a few others help me with programming. And obviously I know a lot about powerlifting, but it's nice to just kind of say, hey, what do you think I should do? Yeah. When it comes to, getting this massive following that you got over the years, what do you think are some key components to that, through YouTube? And how many followers you got on YouTube?
I think I'm right under 900K on YouTube.
Damn. Yeah, you're starting to approach that milli.
Trying, but it's very consistent. There's not really many spikes or anything. Mm-hmm. And I think that really goes down to
slow
crawl. And I've been slow crawling for years, but at the end, I just really enjoy it. And I think that if I were to give any key tips, it would just be to people can tell, viewers can tell if you're just trying to make a buck or if you're just trying to make a living off of what you're doing. And I think it's just important to just remember why you're making videos and remember your message. Be yourself. Don't try to turn a personality on that isn't actually you.
That'll be exhausting.
Don't try to just talk about relevant drama going. Just do you, man. Be in your own lane. And I think just by doing that and trying to get better every single year, and just having expectations for yourself and making it a challenge to get better every year, I think that's something I think a lot of people kind of lack.
And how old were you when you first started the channel?
19.
Damn.
Have you had any failures in business?
Yeah. Actually, the first time I opened up a gym, I got a ton of equipment. It was a 1,500 square foot spot, and 600 of that was office. So I had my little office in there. I had my merchandise in there, CG Fitness. This was before Alphalete and everything. And I thought it'd be a good idea to open a membership gym. And at the time, I didn't hire any employees, so I would get there at 7 a.m. I made some flyers, and we had 20, 25 memberships. I was charging like $15 a month, and I was there all day, all night, every morning. And it ended up failing because I couldn't commit to being there. I was killing myself, to make what $500 a month, and with that gym, and I was still doing YouTube, and it was kind of like my filming studio. It was a lot of fun, but I ended up putting a lockbox outside for the members. Hey man, don't give the code out, but you can come work out when you want. Just be sure you pay me at the end of the month. And of course, you trust people with that kind of power, and people are stealing shirts. People are bringing all their friends for free, not paying day passes. If I'm, it just became a take advantage of this scenario kind of thing. So I shut it down, and I just used it as my office and filming studio. And then I kept so that was the only business that's the main thing that failed.
Right.
I wanted to have a gym so bad, and it just didn't work out. So went private for about 1.5 years after that, and just kept kind of like you have here. It was just the distribution, it was the gym, it was the office, all under one roof. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm ready to give the gym again. I'm ready to try it again. And then 2016, January 1st, we went public, and ever since it's been doing really well.
That's cool.
Because we hired people for it. We actually focus as a business on it.
Yeah, you learn from those mistakes. I think a lot of people do that with business. A lot of people do that in the fitness industry in general. They start something, and they just are starting it because they're excited and because they're passionate, which is not a mistake. That's actually a good thing. But there should always be some intent of trying to figure out how you're going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
How you're gonna actually make some dough. So how did you transition into having a YouTube channel into having this apparel brand?
So I started with 50 tank tops. This was about 2.5, 3 years into doing my channel. There was some comments like, "Hey, love to buy a shirt or something," and I was like, "Really? Okay, let me go." I went and I printed some American Apparel tank tops, and they sold out in like 3 minutes when I put them up.
Wow!
And I was like, "Oh wow, that's a nice little chunk of that was a good margin."
It's exciting too.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I packed them up, and then I ordered a few more. Did 100, and then I tried some hoodies, and then that line sort of started growing. It was CG Fitness, my name on the shirt. I had a little logo, and it did really well. And then I got I was like, man, what if I do like a brand? What if I actually go and make high quality stuff and, source some fabrics, and if I, create a brand, not a name, because really who wants to wear Christian Guzman on their chest, and go out and no, you want to have a brand that you can really stand behind. And came up with the word Alphalete, which is Alpha Athlete combined into one, boom, Alphalete. Back in college, my buddy Garrett, we were just sitting in the dorm and watching Bigger, Stronger, Faster, watching Pump and Iron, all this stuff. We were obsessed. Like, man, that sounds cool. And I had a husky at the time, so it
gotcha.
Nala. So husky, alpha, the whole vibe kind of happened, and went ahead and ran with it. And as soon as we launched that, it was just 20 times bigger than any launch I had ever had for my name.
Wow!
And that's when the company just started.
That's super cool. How do you deal with competition? It's really easy to kind of look at the competition and kind of get suckered into maybe doing what they're doing, or to even sometimes be jealous. You see something somebody else is doing. How do you deal with that?
I think everyone feels that to some extent, and it's hard not to compare yourself to other people or your business to other businesses, or
sizing them up, right?
Exactly, and it's good to have some competitive vibes in you, I think. But at the end of the day, if you're copying what someone's doing, then they did it first. They're always going to be doing it first. If you're just trying to sample the new Nike stuff that comes out, guess what? They already did it, right? You're behind. So I think you really have to just find something that's not being done. And for us, it was finding and creating clothes that were, I would go to Zara and H&M, and I'd buy these elongated tees that were, really, I was paying $30, $28 for one, and they would rip after washes, or the tags there would be holes in them because they were just really cheap material. So I was,
the way they look, the way they fit.
Yeah, the style was pretty cool. Yeah. So I was like, man, what if we make, some sleek shirts? What if we, have small waist? Some guys that work out typically have a broader chest. What if we taper the measurements in, make them a little bit longer, because shirts were always really short on me. And what if we, bring the arms up? What if we make them a little shorter, and we do some raw cuts, and we put minimal branding? I hate wearing big logos everywhere, so we put a little tag on the back, and you kind of develop your style. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's what ended up making the brand. Our scoop necks are our best seller for men. We source our own fabrics, and we try to make really compressive leggings for women that hold everything in and make them feel confident in the gym. And
how are you able to navigate some of this? This stuff's hard. I must have taken a long time, right?
Yeah, a lot of time, and we're still on it. We're still trying to become the best we can be, and just not, try to just focus on what we're doing and how we can improve year after year.
Just keep poking around. Yep. Just keep asking questions and keep trying to learn.
And just, again, just like how you try to make your channel better and your videos better, we try to make the clothes better every time. We launch something, we don't ever launch the same exact thing twice. There's always a tweak. There's always an adjustment. There's always a V2. We're always improving something. And I think that also creates the hype to where, hey, things are going to sell out. There's going to be products that sell out in 5 minutes. Guess what? It's not coming back.
Right.
So if you have to be ready. People are
like, oh, man.
Oh, they get so mad, man. And yeah, it's finding a balance of allowing some products to sell out while also keeping a core, amount of inventory for say 60 to 90 days, or having, just black joggers always.
You do need a little bit of that core branding, because when people go to the site, you don't always want them to be pissed that something's sold out. So yeah, you need a little bit of stuff.
You need a little bit, but at the same time, I think there's a variable in there that's just excitement.
Right.
You know what I mean?
How hands-on are you with like the designs and
100%?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Me and the designer work hand in hand, and it's my baby. Always will be.
Well, one question that we get like fairly often from somebody like you, it's like, and you started when you were young with the YouTube channel, but like, what's some advice that you would give, like, say, 19-year-old self? Like maybe some, I don't know, some roadblocks to avoid, or would you even bother?
I never want to change it. Obviously everything got me to where I am, but I think if I could give myself one piece of advice, it would be, I was talking to Mark earlier. I was like, man, like, I feel like I wish I would have gotten someone to help me out a little bit earlier that was strong where I'm weak. So for me, I'm such a jumper. I just jump into things and I'll commit and I'll order the units before, hey, we don't have the final sample, but it'll be fine. No problem. Like, okay, let's get on it. Let's do it. Where I should have waited, and or maybe I should have done more research on the back end, on the trademarking, on the copy, on all this stuff, right? Where it's, now we're getting all these, just so many small pain in the asses where it could have been covered if I would have been better at the structure in the back end, years ago. And even with things like taxes and filtering holding companies and this, and we're filtering through here and funneling through salaries and all these little things that could have saved hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and I wish I would have known that earlier.
Yeah. And then another good question, I forgot who asked it, so I apologize, but like in today's society, or like the business and and everywhere, you kind of almost have to have like a social presence. You have your YouTube channel, you now have your Instagram. If somebody doesn't have a gigantic following, what's the best way to network with other people?
And if you say you want to start a brand and you don't have a following,
yeah, essentially
find people that have a following and find a way to budget to be able to, even if you have a badass product, if you just get addresses, a ton of these people would love to, if it's a great product or unique or creative, then they'll want to use it. If when I got sent a slingshot for the first time, I wasn't getting paid to do that. I got a cool slingshot. I got a new toy for the gym. I was going to show it off and try it out, and it's organic things like that where you have to come up with the product that people would want to use anyway. Just like with energy drinks, right? We have a list of like 100 people we send them to a month, and we don't pay anyone, or we don't, require anything. We just want to send it. And, it just so happens we get posted on a story a few times because they're drinking it midday, and it's just organic promotion like that. So you need to find a way to reach people that can get it out to other people. And
then on the creative side of things, because I'm a photographer, that's how I got here. What do you look for with somebody, whether it be like I don't know, in marketing, or like design, or even like film and video and stuff like that? Like, what's something that, again, like a no-namer like me who wants to reach out to someone like you, like what's the, maybe a couple steps to try to get it, like, the degrees of separation to try to kind of minimize the hoops you got to jump through to get to someone like you?
Well, I think a big thing for us is, I check Alphalete every day. My whole team does. We're on the page. We're on the tag photos. We're on, not DMs are so flooded now, but if you're a quality photographer taking photos of people in Alphalete or whatever, that's the best way we're going to see it. And it'll stand out. If it's a good photo and if it's well lit and it's got really nice editing, it's going to stand out. I mean, hey, who took that? And I think, honestly, like, we've started a lot of relationships because of that. And I think a lot of times, just for example, flying out to an event that you're going to be around, maybe filming a video and recording stuff, just sending it for free to the team, or hey, Alfie, I made this video for you guys. Or if you want to work with Mark, you come to one of the seminars, you film a really cool thing, don't even talk about anything and just send it. And, hey, I made this for you. Some really cool content, some things you can maybe use on your social. And that's how you build a relationship. You just go direct and you do more. You're going to have to work for free sometimes. And I think that just giving a lot, and that's how you're going to get noticed.
Yeah, what you said is exactly how I got here.
Yeah, really?
I took pictures at a seminar and gave Mark my card, and that was it.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
If you're really talented, and we're like, businesses need content. They need help. And
entrepreneurs are going to be so excited and pumped about that. So that is
take initiative, and that's life, right? Take initiative and get out there, put yourself in the right spot. Make sure you're in the right spot at the right time.
It seems like you're like insanely thoughtful about every single detail of your business. All the way to like the way that your website looks. Your clothing has a certain look. Your Instagram has a certain look. I mean, everything seems to have this look, and it's kind of it kind of goes back to what you said in the beginning about not wanting to have a giant logo across your chest. And almost all the messages that I'm seeing through your website, through the Instagram of your apparel brand, I'm seeing it has this real clean, kind of sleek look. Are you involved in every single aspect?
Yeah, every product that comes out, I'm in. So I really enjoy it, and I think it's kind of back to that Zara H&M. It's like we want to provide a product that looks good but is enhanced. The materials are shit on those fast fashion brands,
right?
And we'll sell it for the same price, $20. And you're going to get a shirt that's going to last 10 times longer. It's not going to shrink and make holes. It's going to last you. And I think if you can create a better product than your competition that's actually better, and don't just copy it and sell it for a fair price, I think that's how you build a reputation.
Right.
These joggers would be selling for $100+ anywhere else. And if Nike, they'd be $150. And we pay a lot for them. We don't have a margin that's super, super crazy or anything like that, but we want people to get the best product for the best price.
Right, and you're making things that look good, and people can exercise in them, which is another huge part. And I think before guys like you came along, I think that a lot of people and I know that you sell a lot of women's apparel too, but I think that in general the thought was like, well, dudes don't really care. Guys don't really care. Like, a guy doesn't care about his shorts like being super tight and like hugging his love handles. Like, no. Guys care about that just as much as chicks do. We don't want to feel fat or look unflattering when we're working out.
If you look good in the gym, that's a place you're going to. You're looking to improve yourself, and you want to gain confidence. If you look good, that's just another. I'm excited when I get new gym clothes. And I'm just that type, and that's not everybody. But I'd be excited to go work out, and I'd be pumped for my workout. It helps me with that. It helps confidence. And if you feel like you're wearing a tapered, you feel like your arms look real. I wore this shirt today because I knew my arms look big in this shirt because the sleeves were kind of short.
Right.
Like, I want to look jacked for this video. It's just a little bit, but it goes a long way.
It's kind of like the dressing room at some places like Lululemon and stuff. I mean, people love to look good. The lighting in there is perfect, and you're like, fuck, everything I put on looks good. Yep. This is pretty good, and it gets you excited. It actually makes you kind of like buy into the product, right? Yep. And so these are huge. You have
that
factors.
Lulu discount, right? You have the program.
That's right.
Yeah, like 25% off.
Yeah, I need it, because I got lots of Lulu stuff.
Yeah,
got that Lululemon.
Yeah. No, dude. We were talking about Lulu the other day because I don't own any Lululemon anything, and then Terrell he tried some on and he's just like, I get it. I'm like, I don't get it. He's like, you have to wear it. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll give it a shot.
That's what we want to do with Alphalete, is a better price.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the comments everyone's talking about your apparel right now, and they're talking about the joggers being like the best joggers on the market. Mm-hmm. And I was just telling them how you were showing us, earlier. You took them off and you threw them right at our face.
I'll make it so everybody can understand, and maybe not everybody will still understand because they might not have made this switch. But it's a difference between cotton underwear and what Under Armour did with underwear. And then now everybody else makes that kind of same kind of underwear. But man, like at the end of a long day, like those cotton underwear, they like grew like 4 sizes. And they're uncomfortable and they're kind of hot and they're this and that.
They bunch up and
everything else.
You can say the Calvin Klein, but my first pair of Calvin Klein underwear, I saw Greg Plitt wearing them. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to buy some Calvin. It was $30 pair of underwear.
Right.
But you know what? When you're like, I get it. Right. And now I swear, I wear Alphalete underwear every single day, and they're better. You want to create a better product, and you want to sell at a better price, and you just feel good. You know, dressing well, you feel just more. You keep your chest a little bit higher when you're walking around.
It's a really interesting thing to watch the progression of all these companies, because, you know, now that I'm actually kind of thinking about it, and it all kind of almost started with Under Armour, but Under Armour, they messed up. They kind of missed their window, because Under Armour made fitted stuff, which was you know, it was stuff that you wore under your football uniform, but that was like too fitted. That was like too tight,
compression.
and yeah, it was compression. And anybody could, you know, anybody that was even if you were in really good shape, it was hard to look good in those things because they were too tight. But they were the ones with the moisture wicking. They were the ones with the, you know, the technology where it wouldn't smell and all this stuff. And they kind of like really blazed a trail. But then, you know, Lululemon came along, and some of the other companies came along, and now you're starting to see more and more companies kind of enter this market. How do you stay ahead?
I think you stay ahead just by, again, just continually trying to make your product better. And I also think being transparent with your customers. Any change we make to like our legging, for example, or the legging that's all hyped up, and we've been selling that legging for years, but it just now gained traction because every single time we've made small changes, we get feedback, we change, we make it better and better and better. And I think just letting people know what you're changing, why you're changing it, try it on a bunch of people, so before customers buy, they can see, oh, here's 7 different body types. I'm going to relate to this girl. Let me make sure. You got to give them confidence, especially buying online, just by giving as much as you can, all the info you can, all the details you can possibly think of, to make someone feel comfortable and to want to set their alarms to get them at 10 a.m. You know?
Do you sometimes like kind of scratch your head and kind of wonder, like, how did I get in this spot? Because you're sitting there and you're talking about like camel toe and
I'm an expert.
Armpit
expert.
Armpit stains, and, you know, like you're sitting there talking about all this weird shit every day. You sometimes like, man, what has my life become here? What am I doing?
Yeah, but
camel toe expert.
And trust
Moose
me.
knuckle.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
he's got to explore all of it.
Yeah,
got to see a lot. Yeah, I mean, but then you just have to take it in. Like, for example, we have to change the shape. We have to bring it slightly, you know, a quarter inch forward. We're actually putting double the fabric on that area, where, you know, you make it longer down the leg, so it actually doesn't hike up as much. You change the front inseam, so you don't have a pull up front. There's so much to think about, and you have to just get out there and make a product, and then you learn to make them better. And we don't have perfect products, but we're making them better every single time. But
a lot of times the adjustment might be opposite of what you think too. Like you get some clothes adjusted one way, and we've done that with some of the products that we've created, where we're like, oh no, that didn't. Okay, that worked the opposite of the way that we thought it was going to work.
I thought you were talking about like reducing the camel toe actually drop sales, but you add more camel toe, and then all of a sudden now guys are just buying them left and right for their chicks.
Right.
Yeah, like, oh wow, okay. I thought they said, you know, that they're taking customer feedback. Okay, now all of a sudden these things are more see-through.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, whoops.
A good example, this was maybe a year ago. We changed our shape of we call it modesty panel, you know, that panel down there, and we had this kind of oval shape, and it was good. We could have been better. So what is Lulu doing? You know, like they have it's the best female legging. Everyone raves about them. So they have a triangle shape. So we're gonna do this triangle. We're gonna try a triangle shape. We did it, and it ended up hiking everything up. That was our work. There was so much camel toe on our specific product that it ruined everything. It was such a huge step backwards. So it's like, just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean you need to do it also, you know, because everything's so different.
The camel toe project that changed the world.
Yep.
That's it's just there's so many different things to think about, but it's very obvious that you're super thoughtful with everything that you guys are doing, and congratulations on everything. How do you turn it off? How do you shut down?
Yeah, still figuring that one out, but I mean,
you're 25. You don't need to shut anything down.
Yeah, I don't want to shut it off yet. No, I just be sure I try to, you know, at night have an hour or two, you know, just be able to have some downtime, put the phone down. I work a lot during the day, so at the end of the day, my mind's pretty fried. And so at that point where I'm just like, all right, it's time to chill for a bit. And just having that reset, you know, I try to take a vacation and spend some time with the girlfriend and leave the phone in the car, and just every once in a while, you know, and be able to just get away.
You and your girlfriend live together now?
Yes, yeah.
And how's that transition been?
It's been great. I mean, so she lived 3.5 hours away, so we'd be commuting back and forth. So we get along great. We both work a lot. We both understand. We before this trip, we had been together every day, every night for 4 or 5 months straight since she moved in. So and
that's cool.
We don't argue. You know, it's just real smooth, and it's great. I don't know. It works really well.
How do you deal with, we get so many people talking about depression, anxiety. I ran into a lot of people at the LA Fit Expo who, they said, listen to this podcast and some of the messages I share, they say it helps. How do you personally deal with it?
So for me, anxiety really does come and go. I mean, I'm trying to juggle so much, and a lot of times I'll just get so absorbed, and then you throw YouTube videos on top of it. I don't have any help right now, and so it does become a lot. And I think just taking a step back a lot of times, and for me, honestly, it's like once every few weeks or once a month, I just need to go to a spot in my gym where no one can find me and just kind of sit and be alone for a bit and kind of figure out, okay, where do I need help right now? And maybe I need to hire this manager, or I need to do this, or I need to find someone to help with content over here, and just trying to allocate a little more. And
is that hard for you?
100%. But
you don't want to let stuff go. You want it to be a certain way.
I think with Alphalete, that's my most I need to be hands-on, especially with design and manufacturing movement, and that's the big company that I'm really trying to focus on. But things like the gym managing, I love getting just updates. Things like the operations side. Now Derek handles hiring. He brings on the customer service. He handles all that now. Becca's all my the accounts and anything dealing with money, and so I can kind of just get recaps now, and that I'm really trying to, do the best I can to allocate.
Yeah, that it can be difficult, but if you surround yourself with a good team, then you can learn to kind of let things go a little bit more. Does your girlfriend does she ever kind of stop you and say, hey, you probably need a little bit of a break?
It's actually a little bit of the opposite, because she'll go at, I like to say, at 80% all day until she can be editing and then fall asleep at her computer. Where I say I go 100%, but I tap out a little bit earlier.
She has a YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, she's on YouTube. She got 1.7, 1.8 million on Instagram. She's doing, killing it with her women's apparel line, Buff Bunny. So she works a lot, and she kind of balances a little bit more friends and personal time in between the day. But for me, I just knock it all out, and then I have my time at night. So, hey, babe, just come on, save it for the morning. Let's just hang out a little bit at night, and she's getting better at that too. So, yeah, I mean, compared to the average couple, I think we're working a lot. So,
yeah, you guys are working 24/7. It sounds like.
Yeah, she couldn't come this weekend. She had a launch, and her most successful one, and it's just great.
That's cool. Do you guys compare? Hey, this is my. You guys tease each other, you guys get in a little competition.
We try. I've been doing it for longer, and I've been, the business is a little bit older, so I tell her compared you're smashing it, compared to where we were at, and you're doing so good, and she's doing amazing. And yeah, we do.
That's cool. And then she has her own apparel brand, and it's a women's
only apparel. Yeah,
that's cool. That's so cool. How'd you guys meet?
Really through mutual friends, social media. I was single at the time, and had found out that she was recently single. I had known of her, and we'd been to events.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was like, yo, gonna put in a word real quick.
Yeah,
slide. The guy ignored a few times on the DMs, but finally weaseled my way in.
Right.
Then it's been history since.
That's awesome. You're gonna compete coming up.
Yes, I think I'm going to compete I am going to compete mid to late June. The Summer Shredding Classic, which is a bodybuilding show I'm hosting, is on the 29th. So I just need to be sure I compete at least a week or two before that, so I can fuel up and give the attention, have the energy to put on and host a show. So probably the 15th or the 22nd, I'll be competing somewhere.
Anything coming up that you want to tell people about that you got to launch, or you going to be at any events where people can come see you?
Right now coming up, I think the biggest thing is just opening up Summer Shredding. So we opened up summershreddingevents.com, which is we host an online competition transformation challenge every single year. We pick 25 winners to win $2,000, so 50 grand being given away. We pick males and females. It's not just based on getting super shredded. We pick just good stories. If you went from 40% body fat down to 30, if you went from, we have a wide array of winners. And it's a big challenge every single year. And then we also have our bodybuilding show if you want to come compete in person.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think everybody knows where to find you because you're pretty damn popular, pretty damn big. Anything else, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of questions over here, but I mean, just plain and simply, like, there's some hard gainers out there. Me being one of them. Like, what are some like easy steps to follow to get some gains?
Number one, just track your calories track every day for at least say 10, 14 days, and just see what you're intaking on a daily basis. With that, I would say be sure you're weighing yourself in the morning on an empty stomach, and you'll be able to see, okay, if I'm having 3,800 calories a day, is my weight completely stabilized? Is it kind of increasing just a little bit? If it's increasing just a little bit, that means you're on the right track. Maybe you should stick with that number for another week or two. And if you notice that your weight's plateauing, and I know it's kind of annoying to weigh yourself every morning, but you really have to see what's happening. So if you stop, okay, instead of 38, I'm going to go up to 4,100 or maybe 4,000. And then once that stops, I'm going to go 4,200. And I think you just absolutely have to know what you're intaking. You have to know what your weight is, and you have to see the trends to be able to make adjustments.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries.
All right, man. Awesome having you here. Really appreciate you coming
you,
out here to Super Training. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.